I was born in the north of England, Preston, Lancashire. Don't know much about it, only stayed there for 2 weeks. My father had a job with the British government and was continually being moved around the country. In fact, my mother said that we had lived in some 26 different places. A public school in England is not for the public, and it certainly wasn't for the likes of me. I'd always been very, very keen on natural history and exploration, and so I'd sort of read every book that I could find in the library about exploration in the Amazon and exploration in Africa. Anyway, my father had this assignment in British Guiana and sort of took off. All of a sudden then, I was starting to think, well, I could join my father in British Guiana, which I had known bordered on the northern Amazon. Whether it was a good decision, that's the one I've been stuck with for many, many decades now, I decided to leave school early and hop on a boat in Southampton and join my parents in Georgetown, British Guiana. I ended up running this giant ranch. There I was, a cowboy where all the cowboys were Indians.
Stan was the general manager of the Dadanawa Ranch in southern Guyana for 15 years. While manager, Stan oversaw the more than 4,000 square mile ranch and its 35,000 heads of cattle. At the Dadanawa Ranch, Stan was introduced to what would become a passion of his, aviation.
In January 1965, was given an aeroplane. The registration lettering 02 Zulu became its affectionate name. The 02 Zulu in aviation vernacular was a ground-looping son of a gun. After 2 weeks of instruction at the Georgetown airport and 40 hours experience, I flew across the 350 miles of forest to Dadanawa. I had inspected 5 of the airfields, while the Indians at each stood by in complete awe. 4 Indians stood proudly by with hose on their shoulders like rifles at slope arms. I let the flaps down, reduced power, and began my approach. Looking back, I like to think that the length of the field was entirely responsible for the mishap. Indeed, it turned out to be considerably less than the original measured 1,000 feet. But with only 40 hours' experience, a pilot is apt to make the wrong decisions. That day I should have hit the throttle and gone around again, but I didn't. I landed, and it was too late when I finally realized I was going to run out of field and turn into a duck. She pitched forward on her nose and somersaulted onto her back. Suddenly I was hanging upside down from the shoulder harness in dripping fuel. Dazed, I felt for the master switch and turned it off. Then, without thinking, pulled the release on the safety belt and fell on my head. Slowly, I wriggled over and crawled out through the shattered windshield. I emerged from the debris, stood up, and found myself facing the 4 Indians, still carrying their hose at the slope. They smiled, and the foreman stretched out his hand to shake mine in customary greeting. "Hey, Kaiman Pugar," he said cheerfully, which translated into English means very simply, "Good morning, how are you?" They thought that this was the normal way of landing. It cost $2,000 and a note of anguish from the insurance company to repair. But within 4 weeks, I was airborne once more, and, needless to say, never made the same mistake again.
In 1968, Stan left Guyana and arrived in the United States to begin a career in television and entertainment. That same year, he began co-hosting NBC's Emmy-winning series, Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, alongside Marlon Perkins. At its height, Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom was one of the most watched television shows in the country, with more than 32 million weekly viewers.
It's not long before Stan sees something in the soft sand. The tracks of an ocelot. They're still fresh. The cat who had been drinking here could not have left the riverbank more than about 2 hours ago. Soon we find the next piece of evidence that our killer passed this way, an armadillo shell, skinned as clean and bright as a silver dollar.
Welcome to Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. At one time or another, Stan Brock and I have encountered just about all of Africa's big game animals, and I think we'd have a difficult time choosing the most dangerous. But many people place this animal at the top of the list, the African buffalo. Mbogo, the natives call him. He's strong and courageous and a real threat when challenged. But challenging Mbogo is exactly what Stan and I hope to do, as we took part in an unusual research project in Rhodesia with game researcher Mark Sparrow. In the car, we searched for signs of wildebeest or buffalo. Several herds roamed the country near our camp.
There's what we're looking for, a solitary animal. This is a cow, and we'll approach her slowly to get as near as we can before beginning the chase. Buffaloes have good speed, but she'll wear down quickly, probably within 100 yards. Good. My bluff worked. She's running again. The buffalo's slowing now, and my horse can close the gap easily. This is the most critical time. If she's able to stand, she'll charge. Now is when you know the value of a good roping horse. She's trying to get up, but holding the rear leg keeps her from planting her feet. There, that's got the back legs. Now for the front. The job would be impossible without my horse holding the lasso tight. Letting her go may require more care than catching her. When an African buffalo charges, not much can stop it, and we don't want to be near when Mbogo gets back on her feet. There's a good chance she'll be looking for a fight, but I'll have a good head start if she is. Now to release her and return to camp with the record of her heartbeat, the prize we were after on our Mbogo safari.
Stan also went on to star in full-length films, including Escape from Angola and Galleon, the Indestructible Man.
This is Stan Brock, world-famous explorer and adventurer.
I made a couple of very bad movies. I didn't really see any redeeming feature to it. And I was dogged by the thoughts that I had left the Wapishana people. I think I came to the conclusion I need to change direction. That's why I decided to form Remote Area Medical.